Hey everybody, this is Everything's Finally is Ruined. I'm your host, Tristan. With me as always, your good friend Hassan.
That's me.
My friend and yours, especially yours, you should call him. And we're here to talk to you today about what is a burning thing since like 2000, realistically 1995? Yeah, or earlier, technically like 1989. Because we're here to discuss, like, a thing. A long-running thing. Back in 1989, Sega created a game series called Herzog Zwei. And when they did so, what they did was actually they opened up the floodgates. And now here we are, discussing, 30 years later, League of Legends.
Yeah. So, hey,
get your MOBAs on. I'm gonna go top lane. Hassan, jungle.
Yeah. So, hey,
what,
Tristan?
What?
I think you you maybe misread my message because I know I said we were going to talk about Arcane : League of Legends.
Right.
The League of Legends in this case, that's the subtitle. Meaning it's not actually League of Legends that we're talking about.
But it is though.
Kinda, but also very much no.
Okay, so not technically League of Legends. Okay. Skip ahead. No, sorry. Let's fall back a little bit to 1998. Warcraft 3 comes out.
Okay.
2 years later,
yeah,
Defense of the Ancients hits the... What?
Okay. The thing we are talking about,
right?
Not a video game.
There's...
So, like, imagine you played a video game.
I do.
Right? And you're
yes.
Like, oh, I like this video game.
I have played a video game, yes.
And so then you decide...
Yes.
That you're going to make a different form of media based off the video game.
Okay, so like a different kind of video game.
No. It's called a TV show, specifically a cartoon.
See, I understand that those exist. I just didn't think they would exist together like that.
Yeah, no, together, and they're based off of League of Legends.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me try this again. After the success of League of Legends in 2012, what you got was Saturday morning cartoon show MOBA Awesome Knots coming out, and that one was all about side-scrolling, cool, hot beat 'em up action.
Nobody cares about Awesome Knots.
So it's okay. Well, I mean, so we're just going to talk about Arcane. That's it. We're not going to talk about the history
specifically of season 2. Yeah,
season 2 of Arcane. Okay. So
yeah,
it's right there. Yeah, fine. Yeah, it doesn't say. It just says Arcane.
Yeah, unfortunately, MOBAs don't matter at all to this show.
Are there lanes at least?
Well, you could maybe argue with the final fight. They kind of had lanes, I guess. But no.
Jungling?
No.
Does one guy go off to fight a bunch of monsters in the middle of the big old melee?
Nah. No, not in that sense, no.
Oh, okay. Well. So Arcane, huh? Season 2, huh?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they put all 168 characters in this show, right?
That's like
that's if it's League of Legends, they have so many characters, they might as well use them.
5, 6.
Yeah.
7, 8. I think there's 8. There might be some like cameos and more of that, but there's basically only 8.
So out of the 168, they just chose 8.
Uh-huh.
They had... Look, I watched the first season, and I was like, this is really good, but like, they need to put more of the characters in there, because there's only like a few so far. And it's like, well, maybe in season 2 they'll put in the rest of them, all 160 more. No.
No.
Oh.
Now, again, your dreams of a true League of Legends video game but TV show are not a la Mortal Kombat, the cartoon. They're not going to happen.
Now, I have to also say, a quick review for season 2 from my side. The camera angle's all wrong. It's all different each time, and I would say the best way to view this show is from the top down, isometrically.
I'd watch like that secret level show that just came out. I would genuinely love to see someone try and tackle a cartoon entirely from like a top-down perspective like that.
That'd be kind of a fun idea.
Yeah,
at least for like an episode.
Series.
Let's say,
that's what I'm saying. Like, because Secret Level, it's I don't know if you know, video game anthology thing. It's like 10 minutes long, so know that'd be a good place to do that. Anyways, yes, we're here to talk about season 2 of Arcane.
Fine, it's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, pretty good. So for anybody who doesn't know it, Arcane, based off of League of Legends. First season came out in 2021. Yeah. Second season came out in 2024.
Yes.
Man, season 2 is a special kind of cartoon and show in that it reminds me a lot of some of the best shows that were coming out towards the 90s and to a certain extent even early 2000s, a lot of things like Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack,
Cowboys Moon Mesa.
No, definitely not. Like even something like a Cowboy Bebop, where the reason it reminds me of those isn't just because it's good, but it's because it is a show where it's pretty clear that like all cartoons, all entertainment and media, at least at a I don't want to call it blockbuster, but let's just say like a large consumer, commercial, professional level, there is a desire for it to be popular as well as profitable. Those are undeniable facts. There is
kind of a classic way to do TV.
Well, like even outside TV, right? There is just no creator out there who is making something, we'll say for the masses, for lack of a better term.
Not often.
Who's going like, well, I don't care if it makes money. I don't care if people like it or it's popular. That's always a desire of the people making it. But
has been and always is. Yep.
It's felt like a lot, especially since streaming has taken over, that more and more you can feel that sort of push and need from executives for, well, we need this thing to, get big and popular and become the next Game of Thrones or whatever, right? It needs to be the next universe that we can franchise and all that.
Yeah, they do throw that term a lot.
Yeah, and let's be clear, Arcane is literally called Arcane: League of Legends. Yes. They want to profit off this. They want to use this as a vehicle to get you invested into League of Legends and playing that game.
Perhaps I should play this League of Legends game and buy more skins.
Yeah,
$20 a pop.
It very much feels like the executives to have that desire. Yep. We're also smart enough to say, hey, the best way for us to do that is not for us to try and be the ones like, sliding dials and turning knobs to tell them, no, we need you to put this character in. We need this thing to happen because that'll help boost these sales and have this happen. Like season one's really good, but season 2 in particular, the way that it just has these like varieties of animation styles, the way that there are like these episodes and stories that just feel like they're there because the writers and animators wanted to tell those things and not because they were dictated to. Like have you watched the full season?
No, I got about midway through.
Okay, so there's an episode where, spoilers for anybody else as well as you, but there's an episode where basically Echo ends up in an alternate universe where...
Heard of this, yes.
Yeah, so it's basically this universe where everything is sort of, I won't say perfect, but it is a much happier universe because Hex Tech never gets made, so...
imagine that.
Well, so basically what it means is that Piltover and Zaun are never at conflict, and Silco and, oh my god, there's so many character names, Vander, they never get into a feud, and it's this happier thing, and it does serve a story purpose, but like, it's also very clear that it's there because they wanted the opportunity to kind of tell that story and show a different perspective of things. And it's not that I think, oh, well, other cartoons are bad and they suck because they don't have this. Like, I love The Owl House, but that's a show where you can very clearly feel occasionally kind of Disney pressing its boot on the neck of the animators and stuff and being like, rein this back a little bit. Not so much here. Hey, let's try and push this because we think, this will appeal better. And this just feels like a show where the executives just moved back and said, we just want to make an incredible piece of art. And that like, it almost, in a way, feels like it harkens back to kind of more... And I'm not trying to make them sound like they are angels and, we need to go back to the good old days. But, that era of sort of oil and train barons where they would be like, well, I had this opera house or this art theater or this symphony, built because... Well, I
just love this stuff. I want to share it with the community.
Yeah, and this kind of feels like that in a way of as if Riot said, like, we're going to spend this stupid amount of money making this incredible piece of art to share it with the world.
I mean, here's the thing. So, to Riot's credit, they've been doing this for a while. So, when they drop trailers to promote the game, League of Legends, you may have heard of it. When they drop trailers to promote the game and like drop like skin packs and that kind of stuff. So I can't remember what they're called. KVA. KDA, thank you. So when KDA is actually the second time they've done this, but the most successful time. The first time was with a like heavy metal group, Pentakill. And Pentakill was made up of 5 champions in their own heavy metal band, and they put some effort into that, just kind of like make a cool thing. And the thing they wanted to do to make sure to promote the game is to just let the people who wanted to make that make it the way they wanted to. They didn't want to like push like put the boot on the executive boot on the necks of the creators. And so when that worked, they went like, well, let's do that, but tenfold for KDA. So like, here you go, like just everything. And then like they did it like 2 or 3 more times, and each time they just let the creators go and do their thing, and like, this will promote the game, and even if it doesn't, it'll get people like hyped for these characters, and they want to see them more, they want to see them on merch, they want this, they want that. Now Arcane's coming out. Well, you like the KDA stuff? Well, here's this, but like a longer running. Yeah. Every time Riot just kind of lets go and says, make your cool thing, and we trust you. And that's interesting. They don't, like you say, you don't see that.
Well, and like, man, just the visuals in this season.
Yeah.
The first season, they are good.
Yes.
In the second season, though, they do so many more just, I wouldn't necessarily call it experimental, but they definitely, change the variety. Like there's one episode where it gives this sort of flashback to Vi and Jinx / Powder of their childhood, and it is entirely in a watercolor on like white canvas montage sequence of this.
Nice.
It's like that is gutsy in a way that very few animated things are allowed to be. Like I'd even go so far as to say, for as much as people praise like the Spider-Man films, they are absolutely visually impressive, but they stick to a singular consistent art style. Whereas in this, I think it goes for such a variety where sometimes it will just have like two-tone color scenes and stuff. It just it blew me away watching this and just going, man, it's gonna be a while before another TV show is as consistently visually diverse and interesting to look at as a show.
You're correct, yes.
Getting into the sort of characters and story of it, so season 1 ends with basically, hey, we think peace can happen, and then Jinx commits an act of terrorism and basically kills
terrorism.
Basically kills a bunch of I forget what they call them, but they're effectively like,
Toplanders.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like they're kind of lords and ladies.
The council,
the heads of houses. Yeah, the council. Yeah, she kills a bunch of them, and that kind of sets up a lot of what season 2 is going to be about, and its focus around sort of authoritarianism, as well as like responsibility and accountability. And I think one of the things I really appreciate about the writing around how they handled Jinx, and I think they handle the writing a lot better than the fan base seems to understand it, because they all feel like a bunch of idiots because it's a pretty girl, and that is that the show goes, look, Jinx is a character that there is mental health issues here. I'm not going to try and use any more of a particular term than that, other than there is mental health issues where she is not fully stable, as well as some serious trauma, as well as just her upbringing via her adopted father, Silco, sort of had her mired in this life of crime, etc., etc. But it never says, unlike, I feel, anime in particular is real bad for this. It doesn't go, well, because of these things, we just need to forgive her and understand that, well, it's not her fault she did these things. Ergo, no, she just gets to be forgiven, and now, she's on the good guy's side, so let's just forget all that. It very clearly, it very clearly wants to say that, okay, those reasons mitigate the full extent of her crime, let's call it, but that she should not just immediately be forgiven. She should not simply escape any real punishment or reconciliation as a result of these things. And that, to me, is some... It's not just that it's good writing, it's that it's smart writing. It's something that... Well, yeah, like, not just believable, but so many shows do the thing of... and not just shows, even movies. Like the MCU is really bad for this. Of, oh, here's a villain and they're totally just in, we want you to sympathize with them. So we're going to give you these reasons that justify their actions, even though their actions are horrendous and criminal.
I think the most egregious one of that I can think of is, but still a good choice, was Killmonger from Black Panther. His whole thing of like trying to break the generational wealth gap kind of thing was admirable, but like he's still evil. The things he does are still terrorism.
Also, quick side tangent. He is also so horribly written in the sense of he is written from the North American perspective, where like you go ask any African of like, yo, if you just gave like effectively the equivalent of a bunch of nukes to like any African nation, they're not going to turn those on, Europe and the white man. They're going to turn them on their fellow Africans because, that is just the situation that they are in, without getting too deep into it. But like, that's another just serious problem I had with that movie and him, is like, that's not what's gonna happen. Like, no, Africa's not all of a sudden about to just rise up and try and overthrow the white man. That's not.
Well, no, you are correct, because like I never really thought about it that way, because this brief review on Black Panther, I guess, what that movie actually ends up doing is turning European nations into the most important part of that movie, as opposed to...
It's more so that it turns them into white North Americans, right? That's the perspective it has.
It does,
but... Oh, well, Africans are Black Americans, and then Europe is white Americans. It's like, no, Africans view it in a very different way. That's not... It's a very different situation there, where for like a decent amount of African nations, like they haven't been lorded over and suffered under the white man's yoke for quite some time. And so they look at it more of a like, no, who I hate more than the, white European is our shitty Black leaders for decades now who have been ruining our lives. Like, it's a very different situation perspective.
I gotcha.
Anyway, back to Arcane. Although in a similar situation, I also like the way that it does handle so when Jinx basically attacks the Piltover Council, kills a bunch of them. That then leads to some stuff where there are further attacks by Zaun. Eventually leads to Ambessa, who is the Noxian, which is a foreign nation, to basically say, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of my soldiers, but only if you let Caitlyn basically become the authoritarian ruler of this town. And then we get to see this example of this police state happening and people trying to kind of rebel against it, and for Zaun to try and keep its identity. But it does that while also, I think, showing the ways in which a person can easily, and I would even argue reasonably, agree to accepting an authoritarian police regime. And I mean, we've seen that. It's only been, I think, a couple years now with. I think I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think it was Chile that has recently gone through that. I need to look this up now.
Chile or Argentina, maybe? No, not Argentina. I mean, well, Argentina, they did back in the 70s, but yeah.
No, I don't think it's Chile. I think I got that wrong. But we've recently seen that, like with a one of the South American countries where they basically had the highest crime rate in the world. Just the violence was through the roof, and the government basically just went scorched earth police state where anybody with the vaguest ties to well, here's the thing. So they went scorched earth. Anybody with the vaguest ties to criminal groups, and in some cases, it was even like, oh, if you have tattoos, we're just going to put you in jail.
Sure. But
they took care of the crime problem, and the people actually like the government. They actually like what happened because to them, it's like, well, it's that case of like, well, which is a better choice for me here? Is it, hey, could even be like my son, my husband goes to jail, maybe my friends get arrested. Is that better or worse than, well, hey, my sister got murdered by these criminals and my daughter got murdered by these criminals? Like,
yeah, I guess
think
so.
This does that similar sort of situation of showing this dilemma where it's like, basically there's this memorial event for the attacks that Jinx made for the victims,
right?
And then Zaun attacks during that, and when you see it from Piltover's perspective, you just go, yeah, I mean, it makes sense why they would agree to this police state, because from their perspective, they are under threat from a violent opponent with no morals, that if giving up some of their freedoms means that they can stop that from happening, that, you know, hey, here are these people that, you know, lost family members that, well, guess what? You know, I'm willing to give up some freedoms if it means that, hey, my family gets to live. And I think that is some really good writing, the way that they
I agree with that. Yeah.
They're not trying to justify it per se and convince you that, oh, actually police authoritarian states are a good thing and you should be happy for them.
Yeah.
But I think they do a good job of making you understand how it is that a person can support that situation, can agree to it, and not find it that from us as, you know, outsiders living in places like Canada, you know, we look at authoritarian states and just go,
that's
why
bad.
would anybody agree to it? That's terrible. That's bad. And it's like, well, yeah, because we happen to, you know, be living during the good times, right? But when you're in the bad times, you know, it's a lot harder to judge a person and say, no, you're wrong for that. It's like, okay, well, what's the other choice? I say, no, we should try and continue with a weak democracy that sees my family die.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's a good point. Like, would you rather see your friend's family dead in the streets or a couple of people in jail? I mean,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, it sucks. That's a bad. Those are bad choices, but I mean, those are the choices you got.
I will say one thing I will call out in this is there's one piece of like real, I won't say cheap writing, but it's definitely them just leaning into knowing how people are going to react and knowing the ease with which they are manipulating you, which is that I don't think I'm going to find the character's name, but so in this season, Vi and Caitlin do get together.
Whoa, Vatelin finally.
I mean, unless you're watching in certain territories in which they're still just gal pals being bestest buds,
like
no
China.
Romance. China, Iran, I think Saudi Arabia. There were several where they made edits to it to remove that, and some of them are really funny.
Wonder how Tencent feels about that one, considering they own Riot.
Fine, I'm gonna go with.
They made a lot of money, so yeah, fair enough.
Yes, but what ends up happening is basically there's this situation with Jinx that drives a wedge between them. They break up. Caitlyn ends up with I'm not gonna find the character's name, but this other I believe it's like younger, female cop in a relationship with her. And I was like, man, the fans are gonna hate
the freckly girl.
Yes.
Yeah. Molly,
Yes.
I think her name is. Morgan? I know what you mean.
No, doesn't look like there's a Molly.
Whatever her name is.
I forget her name, but she ends up in a relationship with Caitlyn. And I was like, oh, the fans are going to hate her, even though as a character, she's basically done nothing wrong.
Nope. Just showed up.
Just, hey, I was there, I had a relationship, whatever. Yeah. But later on, turns out that, actually, she's a traitor who was working for Ambessa to help her manipulate Caitlyn. And so the cherry on top of this is there's a scene where she is about to execute Caitlyn.
Yeah, okay.
Mel uses her magic so that the bullet just bounces around and just basically ends up shooting herself. And I was like, all right, it's not like lazy writing or anything, but it is some like real like Pixar levels of just we're here to manipulate your emotions in the most base way possible. That I actually think is kind of ballsy to just go like,
it's pretty funny.
We know you're going to hate this character, so we are going to make them die in a very satisfactory way to you. That's like, all right,
it's a little funny. I gotta say that.
Oh yeah. No, it's. Even though I knew I was being manipulated, I still appreciated it. I still enjoyed it and went, all right, this is silly, but I'm still enjoying it.
You're along for the ride.
Yes. Getting into the character writing, the two I think standouts of these seasons are the visual and the character writing, because I think the overall story we'll get into it a little bit. That's actually probably the weakest part, especially of season 2. It has some problems.
Honestly, the overall story, I couldn't get into it. Perfectly honestly.
We'll talk about that.
There's just
shortly,
something about there's something about like the overall plot that I just not that I couldn't follow it, just I couldn't. I don't know. Didn't care. But the
we all know you hate fantasy and that you think it's lame.
How'd you know?
The signs were there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But it's
fantasy.
the writing of the relationships of these characters, and where like the ultimate message of season 2 is about the importance of the human connection, because where the main plot eventually goes is basically Victor becomes this sort of godlike being who wants to basically merge man with machine and kind of create this like singular mind share, and the sort of way that gets stopped is just the power of these relationships, where like Vi, Caitlyn, and Jinx have to fight against this.
The power of love.
Not quite love is the thing. Like love is definitely a part of it, but there's more to it than just love. It's about that human connection between people, that very sort of Shakespearean, what is it? To err is to be human kind of thing. Like, it is about that sort of just base level of what it means to be human, to struggle against the world, to deal with complex emotions, to have both, the to have a pelt over a shining beacon of scientific and economic progress, while you also have the slums of Zaun, and that even in both of those there is people helping out each other, caring for each other, trying to make the world a better place. Like, that messaging, that character relationship stuff, and we don't have time to get into most of the one-on-one relationship, but like, there's that alternate universe episode is basically all about kind of like Echo, and he basically loves Jinx slash Powder, and there's that. But also Heimerdinger is there, so those two are the only ones who have their memories. Is Echo and Heimerdinger have their memories of this other world, and so basically Echo. You know what? You'll enjoy this, Tristan. We're going to get into actual leak. So in the game, Echo has these like time travel powers, and so in this, it's all about him trying to basically create this time travel machine, and then Heimerdinger is helping him. And so at one point, Heimerdinger tells him like, "Oh no, you and Powder go off, enjoy this sort of jubilant ball that's happening. Dance, have a good night." Comes back. Heimerdinger has basically like supercharged this device. He's telling like Echo to try it. Echo realizes like, okay, it can still only go 10 seconds.
Sure.
Heimerdinger's like, give me a minute. And he does this, and he just has this real touching moment where, it's just sort of very like, sorry, my boy, but we have to do this, and basically ends up sacrificing himself to hypercharge it and allow Echo to go into the dimension they both came from to fix things. And like, that's an example of like, those two aren't romantically involved or anything, but it's this beautiful human moment.
Okay.
That episode also involves fantasy. I don't know how to describe it other than fantasy banjo.
Fantasy banjo? Okay.
Heimerdinger literally has this fantasy looking banjo.
Cool.
And he's playing this banjo song and singing. It's like, you don't see much of that.
It
but,
could just be a banjo, show.
Like somebody.
Banjo's been around for a while.
The actual thing playing it is a banjo, but in the show, it's not a banjo. It looks different.
Yeah, I get you, but like, it could just be a banjo. Anyway, go on.
no, not in this. This stuff has to be different, right?
It doesn't have to be.
Well,
it could. Sometimes a wrench is a wrench.
Not in this. It's a Hextech wrench.
I guess so.
But there's just all sorts of little moments like that where it's just it reminds me of some of the way of like not necessarily the exact same messaging, but the way of how powerful the messaging of Pantheon, where yes. I don't think the main story does as good a job of expressing those things, but I do think the actual statement and the character relations that happen and that writing is that powerful and good. Getting into the main story, and I had this discussion with a friend actually on the weekend where, so both season 1 and 2 of Arcane are only 9 episodes, and we both agree season 1 feels good. It feels the right length. Season 2 doesn't. Season 2 feels like it probably needed about another 3 to 4 episodes because there's a bunch of just character and main plot stuff that does not get enough explanation, and it doesn't spend enough time to understand. So, for example, Mel Medarda, she's got a real weird. So she's in season 1. She's the black female counselor that has like the gold paint and stuff. In particular, she's got like the one on her lip.
I like her design.
Yeah, in a relationship with Jace. Yes, I really like her design. But in season 1, she felt good. In season 2, like there's a bunch of episodes. Like basically, she ends up getting sort of magically sent somewheres by her mother. It seems to be implied.
I see.
And so she's just gone for a bunch of episodes, and then when we see her and she's in a weird sort of like magical fictional kind of like cagey place, and there's all this stuff about, I forget what they're called, it's like the Black Roses or something, which are this Noxian organization of some kind. I'm sure if I knew League lore, it would maybe make a little more sense, but she has this whole story, and then she shows up, and she basically has these magic powers now, and it just felt like, oh, if this had maybe been seeded more in season 1, or again, if there was just a couple more episodes in this season for you to actually properly explain this stuff, that would have worked better. I think Victor's transformation from a scientist who is sort of the, we'll say, like, bleeding heart character. You know, he wants to use science for the betterment of everyone. You know, rich and poor.
This whole thing.
Piltover and Zaun. And he doesn't really like the capitalism that's happening. He doesn't like the politics of having to deal with council, all that. His shift from that into basically a prophet to then God that wants to erase all life effectively. That in season 2, that shift felt a little too fast. It just felt like we needed more scenes with him.
Kind of sad that ends up where he ends up, because I mean, like, I think that Victor could have been more poised as a very like gray figure. You know,
I don't hate that he ends up there. It's just it's way too quick. That he goes there.
Like, getting there eventually would be one thing. Like, I think the shift would be like, you know, he was always kind of gray. If he then goes like stays gray because his morals don't really change per se, but then they start tipping slowly into the darker gray.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, now we have a character arc that's worthy of this story. But it sounds like they just kind of like dump him into, he's evil.
It's not. Well, he's not.
He got transformed. He's evil now.
He's trying to, like, oh, I'm here to release mankind of its struggles and turmoils by, helping it to ascend to a higher plane, kind of thing.
Yeah, evil. Yeah. Misguidedly evil, doing evil shit, but he thinks he's good. Yes, misguidedly evil. Yes,
I mean,
that's the phrase for it.
Is it evil?
Yes.
Who's to say?
Everybody else who doesn't want to be transformed.
Now, Tristan, we went over this in the beginning. Authority
no, we didn't.
Is good, so I don't see a problem here.
Circumstantially.
Tristan, don't worry. The Reapers will teach you.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Don't worry.
All right.
But there's also, like, other issues I have with the writing is it's not quite the Star Wars problem
Oh yeah,
There's a little bit of that happening where
it's one of the reasons why I kind of bounced off the show a little bit.
Well, I don't know if you know what I'm about to go to, where the Star Wars problem I'm referencing is how everything always revolves around the Skywalker and its supporting cast.
That's what I'm referring to.
This does this in a little bit of a weird way, where so in the first couple episodes, you keep seeing this mysterious figure with these tubes going into this sort of werewolf-looking giant monster. And eventually what it gets revealed is that it is the League of Legends character Singe, and that he found Vander's body from however many years ago, and he's using that to make this unstoppable monster. And he is doing this because he wants to thwart death so that he can save his daughter, who he's sort of a Mr. Freeze-like character, where he basically has his daughter in a state of, I think it's implied that it's near death. I don't think she's dead, or maybe I'm misremembering and she is dead, but that he basically sort of has preserved her shortly after death. And he's a bit of an interesting character, but it kind of feels like the only reason he exists there is for a way to have them bring back Vander so that they can continue to use Vander as a plot element of Jinx and Vi. And
makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, don't care so much about that.
Yeah.
And you just you kind of like see a little bit of that happen every now and again throughout this season, of just like, hey, we've got our main group of Vi, Power, Caitlyn, Jace, Victor, Mel, Echo, etc. And they do bring in other characters, but some of the interesting characters that they have, they also are just like non-main cast characters. They're just willing to completely like off them and toss them to the side in a way that's like,
I mean,
that's a little bit disappointing, because it also would have been way more impactful if instead you were willing to sacrifice this character.
Yep. You don't say.
But overall, I think this is heading towards wrapping up. I still adore season 2. I think it's an incredible piece of art. I will be interested to see. Initially, they announced that season 2 would effectively be the end of Arcane.
Yeah.
They've, even before season 2 was over, they basically revealed that they were being, let's say, a little bit cheeky with the words, where what is going to happen is there will be more League of Legends cartoon, let's call it.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't bear the name Arcane. Maybe it does. I think it will. I think this name is too valuable for them to just completely drop it. And if they do sort of a season 3, 4, whatever it is, I don't think they're going to give it a different name. But who knows? Maybe they will. But it's pretty clear that season 3, because that's what I'm going to call it, or a sequel, whichever they want to call it. It's still going to be set in that same world, that same kind of interpretation of the lore of League of Legends, but that it's going to be either completely different or like 99% different characters in a different region of that world. They have basically, not in super detailed way, but they have said, yeah, we're going to tell more stories, but it's not going to be about the characters that you know anymore. So it could be, hey, we're going to head to Nox, And so maybe Mel is there, but that's kind of it. Everybody else, hey, they're still back where they're from. And I'll be interested to see what that's like, because I will not pretend to be an expert about League lore, but I did play the kind of turn-based RPG game they put out.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
God, that's gonna kill me. But
yeah.
I really like that. And one of the things I
think.
Oh no, it had it was like, for some reason my brain has the word sub in there of some kind.
Subhuman game.
No.
Hold on.
But one of the things that I was a little bit disappointed by with Arcane was that it didn't get into some of the weirder, more magical parts of the world of Runeterra. I think that's the name of the planet.
Runeterra, yes.
There are just characters that are out there just, shooting magic balls and stuff. And there's a little bit... Go ahead.
The game you're referring to is Ruined King, a League of Legends story.
Ruined King, that's it.
King. That room was so good.
Oh. But like, that's one, like,
yeah.
Hey, the villain in that is basically just an evil ghost.
Cool.
It's like, it's a little bit disappointing that this game, and I understand why they did it.
Yeah,
it's an all right game. Not the best game ever, but a solid 7 out of 10, I'll say.
It's got Joe Madureira as the director of it. That's pretty cool. Comic book artist, former comic book artist.
I know him. I recommend the game.
Cool.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But I hope that what they do with the season 3 is now that they've, established this as something people are interested in, and they've now that they've sort of got some clout with people, I hope that they use that to say, okay, and don't get me wrong, season 2 again, Victor becoming a godlike being, it definitely gets into some weird, strange stuff. But I hope it goes a little more fantasy. I would like to see that of it, establishing more of that and showing off. Also, more of the different races, for lack of better terms. Season 1 and 2 had a little bit of that. There was the sort of bat-like character. There's obviously Heimerdinger. Season 3 introduces this fish man that some people are into in a sort of the shape of water way. There's also...
They want to fuck him?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, no, people want to fuck the fish man.
I mean, like, you.
Yeah.
And the fish man.
There's... What was she? I want to say... I can't picture her now, but there's basically a lady who effectively is selling drugs to the rich that I think she was kind of like a mink or something, maybe. I forget.
Son, the rich don't do drugs. We all know that. They're too...
Oh, Tristan, I got some news for you.
Drug use is only a poor person thing.
But we see these other races, and I understand why they don't necessarily get into talking about that and going, oh, well, the fish man, he's a Fishtonian from Fishland or wherever, right?
Hey, my name's Fish Tony from Fishtonia.
Oh,
pleased to meet you.
That
I have a
wouldn't
great
be
ads.
that out of place in Arcane.
You want to see my pecs?
No, I'm not.
I flex them, but they're also my gills.
Ugh. but I hope a season 3 does a little bit more of that, of kind of pulling back a little bit too, right? And showing us, okay, here's the globe, here is the state of the nations, and, you know, how these people are from here, and this is what they're like, kind of thing. Because it was fine in season 1 and 2, but I think if we jump to another land, at that point, it's sort of okay, you know, Riot, you need to show me a map and explain to me stuff so that I can understand what the state of this world is. Because
I agree with you with that.
You know, okay, there's a fish man, and he's a resident of Piltover. He becomes a fairly high-ranking member of their military, so, like, I guess species racism doesn't exist. Is that what we're saying? But then we clearly see with some of the Nox stuff that there definitely is some
racial tensions.
I was gonna go with racial, but I was gonna go with like group divides, because you know, I don't know what's up with these black roses, but it definitely seems like there's sort of this, oh, we don't like people who can do magic. Magic is, you know, ooh, they're witches, let's burn them, kind of thing. Cool. And so, you know, hey, is it that, well, originally the witches are from this land, and then they came down into Nox, and, you know, they're kind of like, for lack of a better equivalent, but it's like, oh, are they sort of like gypsies or something? You know, hey, we don't like them because they're technically from a foreign place, and they're trying to keep their foreign traditions. We don't like blah blah blah. And so I hope a season 2 does that.
Gotta keep our Irish names.
That's a cut. But I'm excited for season 3. They have told the story of Piltover, so I'm glad that they're moving on from that. They have told the story of these characters. I mean, we get to see, you know, Caitlin and Vi being bestest buddies who decide that they're going to become roommates. That's all that happens with them, nothing more.
Just good bunk buddy friends.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Don't worry about it.
So I like, going back to one of my earliest points, that's something that I'm also very happy with, is that from the sounds of it, the executives in Riot basically acknowledge, no, this story has been told. We want to move on from it. We're not going to try and just milk it and beat a dead horse with it and go, oh, what about Caitlin and Vi's spin-off show? People really like them. What if we just cram that down your throat and ruin that whole thing? It sounds like they are smart enough to recognize,
I got fan fiction for that.
You go read your fan fiction and move on.
It's raunchy too, really, like way too raunchy.
I don't look, buddy. I've seen some AO3 stuff. I assure you, there are people out there who would tell you there's no such thing as too raunchy.
Oh, there's not. I agree.
And on that note, that's really all I got to say. So
I assume the next place we're going to go, and if we do another Arcane League of Legends thing, is Demacia. Why not?
What's Demacia?
It's like one of the very first places that they mentioned ever in League of Legends lore, ever, and nothing has ever come from it.
I hope then season 3 opens with them talking about it, and that's it, and just talking about like, can you believe what was happening in Demacia? It's typical of them, right? And then don't explain anything, just the most vague, just those Demacians.
But even better, it'd be even better if like, you hear I have them in Demacia? Yeah, nuked off the face of the planet. We're never gonna go there. Oh, uh-oh. Poor Garen, Lux, Janna, other characters from there.
I don't know who these people are.
They're like season 1 of League of Legends, like the very first characters to ever exist in League of Legends like history. are these characters. And like one of them, Garen specifically yells for Demacia whenever he does his spin attack. And it's a very common phrase you'll hear from 2009.
I like that one. I like that one lady from. I feel like it's one of the earlier cinematics kind of trailers they ever did, and she just has a real big shield. I thought that was cool.
Oh, I remember what her name is. Yeah, she is cool.
No idea. That was also a cool cinematic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, yeah, we should wrap
Everybody
up.
should go watch this show. Tristan, why don't you tell people where to find us?
Go to our Blue Sky account. Go there and tell Hassan, tell specifically Hassan how much you love Arcane Season 2. Because I'll be like, it was pretty good. I haven't watched all of it yet. Don't spoil it for me. It's already spoiled. I know what happens in it. It's okay. And that's fine. I don't care about spoilers. Go to our Blue Sky account at EIFNAR. We are there. You can yell at us about how much you really enjoy Demacia.
Sure. I got nothing to say to you if you come at us with that.
Yeah. Also, go to our iTunes and Spotify accounts. Listen to our show on the podcast version, the audio only, for you audiophiles. Enjoy it in your ear holes, and click the buttons that will make that algorithmically appear more often in your feed. That would be nice if you did that for us. Also, our YouTube channel, which is we're watching this show now. Go there and smash buttons until you feel love in your heart again. Also go to our friends at DJDane.com. That's the guy that does me. DJDane.com. Go to listen to his great tunes, and just if you want to like grab him, because I gotta say he's probably a pretty good like top laner, if not a jungler. So like I think you got a good like dude on your team, and your 5-person like league team if you need him to do one of two. So a bit of an all-rounder, really.
He's going to be playing for T1 next season.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for our show. Tune in next time for another LNG episode of Everything's Fine is Ruined. See ya.
See ya.
Say it.